Welcome back. We're wrapping up our look at sexual harassment on this week's edition of Public Affairs on Peach, and our guest is Atlanta Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Maria Carstarphin. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, a lot of times, in some of these cases, someone who may end up being involved in a sexual harassment situation started out as a school bully. So we got to catch some of these people pretty young.
Right.
What are the schools doing?
Yeah, so, you know, we do believe it starts early as well. We want to make sure that they have the structures they need to be able to be self-aware, self-manage, develop healthy relationships, and actually just be reflective about their behavior. We want to teach kids empathy as early as we can, and the research is clear that these things can be taught. And when you do that early and you give them an opportunity to learn and make mistakes, that they actually can improve as they become young adults and go into adulthood. We call it a social and emotional learning agenda, and there's a lot of work that's gone district-wide in Atlanta Public Schools to begin as early childhood and to continue all the way through high school.
So how do you do that? I mean, schools are having a tough time even getting music and PE and, you know, just the basics.
Yeah, so it has to be integrated. I mean, you can't teach it as an independent concept. When you're talking about the behavior or the history of our behavior as people, you can demonstrate what it means or how a circumstance could have turned out differently if you had approached it with empathy. And we also have child protection units built into the work that we do in the early grades. In pre-K through 5, we teach our kids in a unit what it means to understand and interpret and be aware when inappropriate things are happening, what it looks like if it happens to you, and what it would feel like if you were doing it to others.
You know, it's interesting because in the same breath that you are teaching these children, you have to teach your educators to teach these same things. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's also, it starts with the leadership. It starts at the top. We team up with the Anti-Defamation League to do a district-wide approach for No Place for Hate. It's a campaign, if you will, to ensure that every department, every adult, every child, and even our parents understand what we expect out of our young people as they wrestle through a lot of complex issues. Adults don't sometimes manage and behave themselves in a way that sets the best example for kids. So we do a lot more around mentoring as well, so that, you know, the adults can practice a little bit more, but also understand the approaches that will be necessary to be a best practice if kids are actually facing these things on a daily basis.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because we say often that these children are our future, but at the end of the day, they are. And so if you cannot catch them young, you need to catch them before middle school. You have to start at that kindergarten, preschool, you know, the elementary school levels. And
I think part of it is that you can't assume that if you're just talking about it or raising it, that kids will understand it or educators will teach it correctly. So we've built a curriculum with partners called FLASH, Family, Life, and Sexual Harassment. And so it's an opportunity for our students at a very young age to get an understanding of how you can actually teach yourself or be taught about these issues and learn about them as early as possible. So we teach it throughout the throughout the system. It is focused at a little bit of the higher elementary grades and into middle and high school as well. But we try to start as early as it is appropriate and to address the topics during the curriculum where kids can understand what we're talking about and not, you know, create any more anxiety or confusion around the issues. But I think you have to have a structure. You have to say, as a leadership team, you have to say, you know, to your educators that this is part of what we're doing. You integrate it in the curriculum. You integrate it in, even in our case, some of our support partners. So after school or even in summer when we're working with different different entities. We show them and share with them
Right.
what we're doing so they can reinforce it after school and at home.
And you know, bullying often that's where it begins.
Right.
And so the school system is doing what it can to put a lid on that as well.
Yeah, and kids, kids kind of do what they see at home,
Right.
or what they might see when they're outside of school as well. So they bring that into the learning space, and we just have a responsibility to just help them unpack it, give them an opportunity. We call it restorative justice. When you make a mistake, how do you correct it, apologize for it,
Right.
learn what you did wrong, and then be better for it. So we want our kids to be smart, but we also want them to have the heart to be better people than we are.
Dr. Karstoffen, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time today.
It's great to be with you.
All right, that is going to wrap up this week's edition of Public Affairs on Peach. We will see you back here next Sunday morning at 11:30.